everyone, Muzz here with Bang & Bark. How you all doing? A little while ago I did a review of the Vortex Spitfire 3x prismatic scope. Back then it was sitting on my SteyrAUG. It's now currently sitting on top of my Sig Sauer 522 just for a bit of a change around. With that in mind, I've got another optic which is something I've owned for 5 years now. So I wanted to do something similar with that. It's the Burris MTAC 1-4x24. As you can see, it's currently sitting on my Mateba Grifone 357 Magnum revolver carbine, which is clear and empty. A little unusual, right? Yeah, this is interesting. We'll come on to this a bit later on, but this is a really interesting concept to me. I love the idea of like a quite a powerful pistol caliber carbine with a variable magnification optic. I like that. I know it's not to everyone's taste, but a sort of quirky thing I think really appeals to me. I bought this second hand, as I said, around 5 years ago now. It was advertised as being like 9.5 to 10 out of 10, so it was supposed to be in pretty good condition. When it turned up, it was, for all intents and purposes, immaculate. So although I don't know the history on it particularly, I was told it wasn't abused. I think we can take that as a good data point as to it was almost new. So this will be a reflection of what 5 years of ownership will be like. This optic, as you probably noticed, is transferred between a few rifles. I do move my optics about for various different reasons, just to try things out, I guess. And overall, it's been great. Yeah, it's been great. No major faults or flaws as such. There certainly is a few little niggles, and we'll come on to those. But overall, it's been great. They're around $400. You can still buy them new today. The quality is quite nice. Now, it's not a cheap scope. It's not expensive either. It's kind of in that nice little mid-range. If you start to pick up some really good quality without breaking the bank. Right off the back, then. Variable magnification, so it goes from 1 power to 4 power. This dial is, overall, it's okay. For some people it's going to be too firm. It is really quite firm. It's not as firm as some, like my Citron, but it's a lot more firm than a lot of other things. That's nice in the way that it's going to keep exactly where you hold on those numbers. You can get it exactly where you want. It is smooth. It's important that it's smooth. I suspect you could probably get a throw lever for that if you want to make that even easier. I haven't looked into that, but just something to definitely be aware of. With regards to the magnification as well, since we're on that, 1 power, it's not a true 1 power, or at least this one isn't, and I suspect that's common across all of them from what I've seen. When it's set down on 1 power, it's about 1.1 or so. It's not something that bothers me, but while I was looking around and having a play with it, you're like, okay, yeah. When you switch between eyes, on it and off it, there's a slight magnification even on 1 power. That's going to put some people off. It doesn't put me off. It is almost imperceptible. It's pretty good. But just something to be aware of. Eye relief on here. So with the Vortex Spitfire, that's got quite a short eye relief at 2.8 inches. What I found with that one though is it is somewhat flexible. You can get away with it a little bit closer or a little bit further away is fine. With this one, the specification says 3.5 to 4 inches, so a little longer in the eye relief, a bit more normal is what you'd expect. For me though, what I've noticed is that if you're slightly off that eye relief, the edge of the lens almost has a little bit of a bloom effect to it, almost like a fisheye. Very, very slight, almost imperceptible, but you know, we're starting to pick holes here now on the balance of fairness. Is it annoying? Kind of, but not really. Is it a deal breaker? No, absolutely not. But it's certainly something to be aware of. It's a relatively long optic. It's 11.3 inches overall length. It weighs 14.5 ounces, which is 411 grams. That's a little bit lighter than the Vortex, which is interesting to me. The Vortex is 15.4 ounces from memory, which is 436 grams. At first look, you'd expect the Vortex to be considerably lighter because it's shorter and more compact, but Burris is actually lighter. Only by a smidge, but lighter still nonetheless. Okay, stay. Okay, so 30mm tube, which is always nice. 130 minutes of or not stay. 130 minutes of angle of adjustment, which is a really good range. That's really nice to see that in a scope like this. It is half minute of angle adjustments, low profile turrets which are nicely capped. It's one of the things where the half minute of angle would normally potentially put me off, but should it? No, probably not. For the type of shooting I do, it doesn't really make a difference as to whether you need to make that half inch at 100 yards adjustment or not. When you're at a few hundred yards, yeah, sure, each click is then going to be moving by a couple of inches. As you get further and further out, you're on a low magnification optic. It is likely that an element of that is going to come into the lack of precision from the low power as well. So it's certainly something to bear in mind. One thing that comes up with these online is that they have a decent click, but it's inaudible. And I somewhat agree with that. So if we just adjust this here, there's a very positive click in terms of the feel. It is also, it is audible, it is quiet, but it's audible. If you're out in the field on your own, you're going to hear it. If you're in the house, you're going to hear it. If you're on the range and there's a lot of active gunfire, yeah, you've got no chance of hearing it, let's be honest. But it feels precise. It doesn't feel to be too much backlash or anything like that. It is a nice positive click. You know exactly when you've adjusted it from feel. The scale is slippable. And the slightly confusing thing with it is normally in my experience these are adjusted by either pulling them out and turning them or by a little Allen grub screw or something like that. However, with this one it's a friction piece on here where there's a little tool you'd normally insert into a little point and you can turn it. However, you can actually grip it gently with the tips of your fingers and adjust it from there. It's still on 0. Which is nice. You're not going to move that by turning, and it's only something I noticed through filming this that you can do that. So don't worry that you're going to slip your scale while you're adjusting. Absolutely not. That doesn't happen. But it's nice that you don't need any tools if you do make an adjustment in the field. Quite often I've left my little 1mm Allen or something like that, but at home you have to make your adjustments and it's left on like +6 minutes of angle, and you hope when you get home a few hours later you're going to slip it back to 0. Anyway, there is a really nice video out by a guy who I forget his name now, but he shows the tracking of this really well, so I'm not going to touch on that. All I'll say is mine tracks perfectly as well. You shoot the box test, really reliable. Certainly in terms of what you'd expect, so no worries there then. And again, it's been running, I've been adjusting this and playing with this for years. It's really held up nicely. One thing I'm not quite so impressed with, but is it an issue, is it not? Nah, who knows. The illumination on here, you don't get a click, it's almost like a pop, which I don't think the microphone's going to pick up. But the point I'm saying is this is almost a bit mushy. It's very soft, it's very easy to turn, which is nice. Some people are going to really like that. Some of these rheostats I played with before are so tight you end up really having to crank them. You mash your thumb or finger into your turret cap or whatever, and it's a bit of a pain. This is very, very easy to turn, which is good. Except for when your rifle's on a sling on your back and you haven't noticed that you clicked it on, you put your rifle away, and a few weeks later it's like, oh, the battery's dead.
Okay, so this is nigh on impossible to do, but let's bear with it, let's see what we can get. So there you can see what that reticle looks like at the moment, and let's put it onto the lowest setting there. You see, when we're in a bit of dark, it's a gentle glow. At night time it's not too bright in your eyes, which is good. In daylight you don't really see it at all. We jump on up to say level 5. This is all sort of level I've normally used during the day. It's bright enough where you're going to be able to pick it up. At night time this is probably going to be way too bright. However, because it's quite an overcast day today, if we jump up to say an 8, 8's getting nice and bright, as we can see there, and a 10 is really bright, which is quite nice. It's certainly, obviously you appreciate how difficult this is to do on camera, but it's really easy to pick up in really bright conditions exactly where that reticle is and what's going on there.